Habarigani, the 7 days of Kwanzaa. Habarigani, Nguzo Saba. Habarigani, the 7 days of Kwanzaa. On the first day of Kwanzaa, Umoja, unity of a people. Umoja.
On the second day of Kwanzaa, kujichagulia, self-determination.
Kujichagulia. On the third day of Kwanzaa, Ujima, collective work and responsibility. Ujima. On the fourth day of Kwanzaa, Ujama, cooperative economics. Ujama. On the fifth day of Kwanzaa, Nia, living life with purpose. Nia. On the sixth day of Kwanzaa, Kumba, African creativity. Kumba. On the seventh day of Kwanzaa, Imani, African people keep the faith. Imani. Habarigani, Nguzo Saba. Habarigani, the 7 days of Kwanzaa. Habarigani, Nguzo Saba. Habarigani, 7 days of Kwanzaa.
E6.
I say. Good morning, my Wose family. How's everyone doing? I hope that you are all warm and sheltered in place someplace and able to enjoy today's service. Today's service is a special one. It's a special one. And coming off our anniversary, we know that we are rolling right into Kwanzaa season. This is the time of the year when we start putting our principles right in front. I mean, I know that most of you honor and respect the principles 24/7, 365, as Minister Makalisi likes to say. But this is the time that we make it an intentional effort to move these very great principles forward. Umoja, Kujichagulia, that we have all of these principles surrounding us. And today we are moving into the Kwanzaa season, so be prepared all the time, 24/7, 365. This is I wish I could just quote the number of services that we've had. I know somebody probably, Bill will put them up, that we've been online since March, and we are moving forward, marshaling our forces forward, and we know that it is a spiritual connection. This is a spirit thing, so we don't have to be inside a brick and mortar to be able to practice the principles, both to be able to love one another, to be able to respect one another, and to be able to worship the Most High. Ashe. We will move on with this as we move on in the program. Now is the time when we're going to have affirmation. And the affirmation is when we recite words that we want to carry with us, and assigned to this particular part of the program, we have our newer members, my brother John and my dear sister Marilyn. Again, like I say, if we were sitting in one building, expect a hug. All right, expect that hug. So we're gonna turn it over, and brother John and sister Marilyn, if you could bless us with the reading of the affirmation. Ashe.
Ashe. And Hotep to all the brothers and sisters out there.
I see. Hotep.
Appreciate being a part of the service this morning. For the affirmation, we start off with, we will know God's truth to be free and self-determined.
Community, creator, help us to remember the humanity, glory and suffering of our ancestors, and to honor the struggles of our elders.
I see.
Let us strive to bring new vision and life to our people. Let there be peace and harmony among us.
Community, let us be loving, sharing, and creative. Let us work, study, and listen so we may learn, teach, and cultivate self-reliance.
Grant us power, O Holy One, as we struggle to resurrect our hearts and our homeland.
We will raise our children according to the needs of our nation with discipline, patience, devotion, and courage. We will strive to be the living models of the new direction of our people.
We are an African people. We are children of God.
I see. I see. Thank you. Thank you very much. We need that affirmation that we are children of God. And if you know that God is on your side, who can be against you? I say it won't even matter. You know that you have the Most High watching. The Most High has your back, has your front, has your sides, above and below. So we're covered. We are completely surrounded. I see. Now we're going to do a little something different. We have a special announcement, as we say, something, a little information that you need to take in. And at this point in time, I want to call on my dear little sister, my dear sister. You don't need to be old. I'm going to put y'all younger than me. I know my older sisters say that when they celebrate their birthday, they say it is the anniversary of their 21st birthday, whenever that was. So they may be, it's my anniversary of my 21st birthday 40 years ago, 50 years ago, but I would never stick that on there. So anyway, this is my youngest sister, Sister Rana. Could you bring us some special announcements, some special instructions, what we need to know? Ashe? Ashe.
Greetings, Rose.
There she is.
Yeah, I have a special announcement for you. Next Sunday is a special day for us. We will celebrate the ritual Usharika Ya Ujia, which means sharing the way. It's a ceremony that's observed at the change of the seasons, and next week is winter solstice. We ask that all who can please wear white to the service, and that you bring a piece of bread, cookie, whatever it is that you like, just a morsel of something that we're going to have together at the end of the particular ceremony. So for more information, you're going to refer to this week's upcoming newsletter. We'll have more information, the what, the why, and all of that in the newsletter. And if you haven't already gotten on the list to receive the newsletters, we'll take care of that at the end of today's service and getting your email or providing you with where to send your email address so that we can make sure you get all announcements going forward. If there are any questions, we're also going to take those at the end of today's celebration when we do announcements in that area. Thank you very much for your attention. And now Sister Chanita, hey sister, she's going to light the candle of justice. Thank you. Sister Chanita, you ready?
Yes.
There you go.
Okay, so well, good morning to you all on the West Coast. Good afternoon to those of us out here. This is different for me because, I'm used to singing, but I'm so glad that I was invited to light the candle of justice. So if I'm correct, am I lighting now? Today, We're lighting the candle of justice for Black farmers in the South. I have my own personal reason for why I'm doing this. Oh my God. And I have to light it again, went out. Okay. Why? Why have I chosen this? And I have to say, nothing's by coincidence. It was placed on my spirit to do. And when I heard Baba Sidney mention Alabama, I said, there it is. That's my folks are from Alabama, by the way. When we address financial inequality in this country, we have to look at the absence of Black generational wealth, which is resources passed from parent to child. When we often talk about racial wealth, the racial wealth gap, when we talk about reparations, economic prosperity, Black folks in the South, there are Black folks in the South who are often left out of the conversation. Where the deficit has been the most extreme is in farming and ownership of land. So, believe it or not, Blacks have lost millions of acres of farms that they owned across the South. Imagine if we had never lost our farmland. Now, granted, we're just talking about the South from now. Imagine had those farmers been able to supply our own grocery stores. Instead of us, people like me, going to Whole Foods, Trader Joe's, stuff like that, we will have our own. But in regards to the injustice that took place, briefly, I'll touch on that. Farmers were given, this is like during the Great Depression, farmers were supposed to be given federal loans to help them stay afloat. And Black farmers were systematically disenfranchised. And I'll do my best to keep this brief. They lost their land. They were discouraged or bullied from doing things such as joining the NAACP. If they did something like that, then their money was withheld, money that was owed to them. All this contributed to them losing their farms, and that contributed to the big migration north. Imagine had these people stayed south, where states such as Mississippi and Alabama were, if not majority Black, they were almost half Black. Imagine if those states were all Black states. Now, that's talking about like the 50s or so. Well, no, not the 50s. On a personal note, my family, the Packs, had farms. Before, my father is, 82. When he was just a baby, and also before he was born, white men killed off the Black men, the Pack men, and stole the land, stole the farms. My grandfather, Spencer Pack, happened to have caught one time, he noticed a white man on the property trying to do something, I'm not sure what. And as a result, he killed him. And, so then the rest of the family had to sneak Spencer Pack out of Alabama for his safety. That's common for us. As I was telling someone about me, as I was preparing for lighting the candle of justice, I met a brother whose family is originally from Mississippi. He shared with me how his family, his great-great-grandparents were, they used to be enslaved. After they were free, they owned a farm in Mississippi, Enterprise, Mississippi. It was bordered Mississippi and Alabama. And their farm, his family's farm, this is the Coleman and Gandy family, they did better than the white farmers around them. Well, some white people tried to buy their farm and like for pennies. And they, of course, didn't sell. So what they decided to do was set fires to the farm. His great-grandfather, great-great-grandfather, and two other relatives, two other men went to check out the fires. It was a trap. They were lynched. His great-grandmother, I'm sorry, went to investigate, and that's when she saw them lynching. She saw that they had been lynched and had to get the bodies down. And eventually she lost the farm. My family story, his family story, they're not the only stories. But to know of how Black men and women, Black farmers, were killed in order to steal their land. To know that we had land is wealth, right? And what I feel right now, I feel something like a fiery wind to just push some justice. We are demanding justice for the lives of our ancestors, for those Black farmers who lost their lives, for those Black families who lost their land, who lost their livelihood, who lost their inheritance, for those of us who are the heirs of this. We seek justice so that Black people can have our land, our wealth restored to us. We can have our own. We don't have to rely on someone else to feed us. Ashe. And a song that comes to mind for me, some of you may have heard it if you grew up in the Baptist church. I'm not quite sure what it meant to me when I was a kid, but it takes on a slightly different meaning now. And I feel the need to sing this little part because I understand the power of utterance. Satan, we're gonna tear your kingdom down. Satan, we're gonna tear your kingdom down. You've been building your kingdom all over this land. Satan, we're gonna tear your kingdom down. Ashe, ashe for the Black farmers.
Ashe, ashe, free the land. Free the land. Ashe, free the land. Oh my goodness. Give me chills. I want to recognize, I see you, Aboom. Ndada Teresa, I see you out there. Brother Bill behind her, handling the controls. I'm seeing her posting things up as we go, talking. And as Sister Shanita was saying, we see some chats in there. Many of us went through those same things. Many of us went through the same, the struggle. Not only did they steal Black bodies, when we were able to acquire anything such as land, they took that too. So that is very, very powerful. And only way I can think to answer something like that, to follow it, you started it when you began that singing. I got goosebumps. I don't know about anybody else. I saw Mama Pam throwing it up, hollering, screaming with the mute on. Only thing that we can do to match that right there is to go to my dear family. The family of song here at the Wose community, Brother David, Mama Latrice, and young Sakara. If you could bless us with some music right about now, brother, we would be so, so thankful. Ashe.
We're with it, Baba. Here we come. Give us a moment.
So while David is sharing the screen, I dropped in the comments that my great grandfather Jarvis Washington lost land. We are also from Alabama. Share the computers down here. And he was actually murdered on his land because he was doing a lot better financially than the whites, and he lost that land. So that story definitely hits home.
460 acres of land, y'all. 460 acres of land. Imagine that. You took that and put that in Oakland, that would be worth billions of dollars with houses on it. And how many people would that feed?
Share. All right, we're working it out this morning.
We live the African way. No shame, no shame, no blame. Let the truth come down like rain. Better is a bushel of almond rock is you than 5,000 wrongfully gotten. Things like that don't stay in the storehouse. The soul becomes rotten. Rejoice not in riches gained by robbery, nor mourn because of poverty. The self-mastered man and woman sail with the wind. I'll say it again, here at Bose. We live the African way. No shame, no shame, no blame. Let the truth come down like rain. Here at Bose. We live the African way. No shame, no shame, no blame. Let the truth come down like rain. Do not separate your heart from your tongue, and your plans will be successful. You'll have weight in the presence of others, and be respected by your sisters and brothers. Give a hand to your elders. Respect them as the children would. A back is not broken by bending in respect. A pilot listens for a headship will not bring a say. We live the African way. No shame, no shame, no blame. And let the truth come down like rain. Here at Bose. We live the African way. No shame, no shame, no blame. Let the truth come down like rain. The self-mastered man sets himself apart. You're like a tree grown on fertile ground. Your yield is double and the fruits are so sweet. Your shade is glad and your end is reached in the garden. Whoa, in the garden. Here in Bose, we live the African way. No shame, no shame, no blame. Let the truth come down like rain. Here at Bose, y'all say, we live the African way. You know the words. No shame, no shame, no blame. Let the truth come down like rain. Here at Bose, we live the African way. No shame, no shame, no blame. Let the truth come down like rain. Here at Bose, we live the African way. Down like rain. No shame, no shame, no blame. Let the truth come down like rain. No shame, no shame, no blame. Let the truth come down like rain. Hear it all say.
Woo! Let the truth come down like rain, brother. you, you be pulling, I don't know how y'all be doing. Y'all, you be pulling it out, man. You know I love y'all, man.
Hey, when the drops came down, I knew I had to pull that one out.
Boy, I love that's my family, first family of music, right there, boy. Them goodlets right there, love goodlets, boy. And we do love the goodlets. I say, let the truth come down like rain. Oh my goodness. What a beautiful, beautiful message right there. And feel the message. Get the message. We're going somewhere. When we start, you don't know where Spirit is going to lead you. I say many people, we will use a metaphor or the allegory of the Spirit and water. I say, and as water goes, you get on that river, that flow is going, that current is going to take you where it takes you. I say, let the truth come down like rain. We're talking about reparation. We're talking about freeing the land. We're talking about Most High, coming together as a people. I say, this is a time in the program, the service, the celebration. I'm so used to program. I've been programmed to saying program. But the celebration of our Africanness, the celebration of Wosay, the celebration of us as a people and our shared history, our shared experiences. This is what creates culture. I say these people activities. But part of this right here, to follow and put it together, we have the historical tribute. And the historical tribute, of course, I've said it many times before, is one of my favorite times, one of my favorite parts of the service, along with the music being one of my favorites, along with the libation being one of my favorites, along with the message being one of my favorites. Anyway, you get the point. Historical tribute is when we try and put together at least 5 to 7 generations of history, because we know how it goes. I shared the other week that a quote from Dick Gregory. He said, you let these folks tell you history 100 years from now, Dr. King is going to be white and Jeffrey Dahmer is going to be black. I say, so we have to continue to tell our story. We have to put it down, make it plain, let them see exactly what happened. Let the children coming up read and know what's going on. That's how Mama Latrice was able to talk about her great-grandfather and what happened to him. Shanita was able to talk about her great-great-grandfather and what happened to him, because we pass those stories along. I say we have to teach the youth, tell the youth the truth, so when they come up, they have something to stand on. So this is that time in our service where we lay down a foundation, something that has happened in the past that we can stand on, that our youth could stand on. So right now, I'm going to turn it over to one of our young lions coming up through the way, one of our young up and comings. Who knows where this brother's going to be? But my dear brother Desmond, if you come forth and share with us some of that knowledge you have, I share.
Thank you, Baba Sydney. First, I want to give out my heart to the Black farmers.
Yes.
She almost brought me to tears. Close to home, when you talk about lynching and stuff. Something similar happened to someone in my family. And yeah, I'm still trying to recover from that message. It was powerful. Thank you for that. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to talk about something different. What I'm going to discuss is, and we're going to go back. We've been discussing in our book study about the past, how the Africans, were Egyptians, right? Africans had that land, that territory, and were pushed south and south. And, we were fighters. No one could conquer us. We're very strategic. And there were some things that stood out in our readings that really touched me. I wanted to kind of I was thinking about doing a Black inventor. I was thinking about doing some techie or someone that contributed, created some invention, male or female. But I said, you know what? I think this is different because it's new information to me and some other people. But I want to talk about Black strategists. Black strategies, military tactics that were used back in the day that was, generated from Africans, the Ethiopians, and also touch on Hannibal as well, the great military general. And that, like you said, where they're trying to whitewash, soon in a decade or another century, they might say MLK and Malcolm X were white. So we got to tell our history and got to share our legacies and show that a lot of these strategies, irrigation, and a lot of things created and inventions came from Africa or from our people or from African Americans, and that we did contribute to this world. But I'm doing something different. So I'm going to talk about going back in the day where Blacks were back in 619 AD. Actually, we're going to go 643 AD, which is a turning point where Africans that were in Egypt were pushed down to Sudan. And they kept getting pushed down and pushed down. And this was a time where they say, hey, you know what? We're tired of being pushed down. We are not going to stand for this, and we're going to fight. And so this is an excerpt. I'm going to read two excerpts from this time period, and then one on Hannibal, the great military general. So I want to start out with back in 643 AD, where Blacks were in the heartland, were pushed down from Egypt to Sudan. There was a Arab governor named Abdullah. This year, the following takeover, the Muslims had taken over most of Egypt. He decided to bring down the whole heartland of the Blacks under Muslim control at once. He knew, however, that this would really be a war, not like an easy conquest of Egypt with an army of only 4,000 men. With a larger and better equipped army, the Arab expedition invaded the Black country with confidence that was heightened by what appeared to be a hasty and confused retreats by frightened warriors. This Ethiopian strategy of pretended fright and wild retreat was so well known in Egypt that it's difficult to understand how it could have been unknown to Abdullah and his generals. They were allowed to advance deeply into the Black territory before 1,000 retreating and frightened Blacks turned in frontal and flanking onslaughts that almost completely wiped out the entire Arab fleet and army. The Arab historian of the period felt compelled to admit this was the most devastating defeat ever suffered by an Arab army. There were eyewitnesses reports from the scene of battle dealing with remarkable training and dashing courage of the Black forces with the king of Manchuria in personal command. Those were the days where the king meant leader. The leader led from the front and not from some hills away from the fighting. This immediate presence of the leader in the midst of the danger with them may have had much to do with the courage and expertise of the African soldiers. Moving on. The defeat of Arab forces was so disastrous that it took them 8 years to recover, to reorganize, and regain the necessary courage to attack the Blacks again, and thereby avenge the awful defeat and near annihilation of on the plains of Manchuria in 643 AD. Moving on, 8 years later, Arabs think they got their stuff again. They're going to try to come and take Black territory again. 651 AD, the Arab viceroy of Egypt decided that he had unbeatable armed might and was ready to avenge the disaster 8 years before and bring the Blacks to their knees in the process. The traps and surprise tactics of the Black generals, with arrogance, probably caused them to ignore, yet the same African strategy was used. They were allowed to invade the Nobode state in the depth only in token opposition. Nobode basically was one of the strongholds, one of the areas in Nubia, a city that was one of the Black Meccas. They were allowed to invade Noble state in death only in token opposition. Hell broke loose only when they crossed the former Manchurian border and headed for the capital of Dongola. Dongola is our Oakland. Now, however, the Arabs captured it and destroyed all the principal public buildings, including the great cathedral. They brought along huge catapults for the express purposes of raising all brick and stone buildings that were the pride and glory of the Black civilization. With the fall of their capital city, the seat of government, the Blacks were expected to surrender. But King Caladoso, the African leader, and his generals had no thought about surrendering any doubt that they could to defeat the Arabs again. The spirit of their decisive victory over the Arabs in 643 AD still fired the Black armies. The king withdrew from his burning capital only to regroup and plan strategies for a no-surrender war. As the fighting continued with increased fury on both sides, it became clear to the Arab generals that victory over the Blacks could never be won on the field of battle again. Again, this previous defeat by the Blacks was still playing a determining role, still plays a determining role in Arab-African relations. So what I just read was, back in that day, the Arabs tried to come in, they tried to take over, and many Africans, what the Africans did, strategies that the kings used, they put in if many of us play sports, whether it's football, softball, soccer, basketball, what the Africans did, they put in their third string, their second string at the front lines. They put in their B and C team at the front lines. And when they were beating the other team, when the Arabs came in, they were beating the Africans. They're saying, hey, we're taking this war. We're taking it by storm. We're winning. And so the B team and the C team, second and third string, start falling back and running, pretending like they were frightened. And then when they started coming after them, when the Arabs and the Arab Muslims started coming after the Africans, when they got more into their territory, what did the Africans do? What did the King Caladosis do? The old African and Ethiopian strategy. As soon as they got in a little closer, they put out their A team. They put out their first string and slaughtered them all. And so this is what the book calls as Ethiopian strategy. And I just want to give homage to that strategy and our military tactics back in the day. Now, and when we were discussing this book, we were like, okay, who's another military great? And we came up with King Hannibal, one of the great military generals, Hannibal. Hannibal is one of the greatest generals in history whose tactics are still studied to this day. He famously led the Carthaginian army, including 38 elephants over the Alps, and came with sniffing distance of Rome. For nearly 20 years, the Republic had to live with Hannibal on its doorstep, constantly outwitting and surprising them, although unable to achieve the final blow. Hannibal would go down as a legend against the greatest adversary, which was Rome. So moving on, Hannibal was born in 247 BC in Carthage, which is modern-day Tunisia, the great trading empire in North Africa. His father, Amilcar Barca, was a senior general in the army who fought the Romans during the First Punic War from 264 to 241 BC. The Carthaginians had lost the war, and the subsequent peace treaty was stripped from them of island territories in the Mediterranean, and heavy financial reparations have been demanded for Rome. At the age of just nine, Hannibal was invited by his father to join him on his campaign in Spain, making the younger boy swear an oath never to be a friend of Rome. It was an oath of Hannibal lived by until his death. For the next 9 years, Hamilcar conducted a fruitful campaign in Iberia, seizing lands and sending resources back to Carthage. Growing up in such an environment laid educational groundwork that saw Hannibal develop into one of history's greatest military statisticians. After his father's death in battle, Hannibal's brother-in-law, Abdrubal the Fair, took command of the army and began consolidating the Carthaginian gains in the area. He even signed a peace treaty with Rome, agreeing neither side should cross the river Ebro. And when Asdrubal, I probably said the name wrong, was assassinated, 26-year-old Hannibal took command of the invasion force, and it wasn't long before the peace treaty with Rome was in tatters. Now moving on. After Rome made allegiance with the city of Salguntum, which lay south of the river Embro, Hannibal took this as his chance to declare war on the Republic. After an 8-month siege, Hannibal captured Saguntum in 218 BC, and Rome sent an ultimatum to Carthage: hand over Hannibal or face war. The wealthy aristocrats back in Carthage had been enjoying the bountiful treasures of the Iberian Peninsula and so stood by their young general. The Second Punic War had begun. Taking fight to Rome, Hannibal achieved the first many military surprises by successfully crossing the Pyrenees and Alps in northern Italy, along with his army of around 40,000 infantry, 8,000 cavalry, and 38 elephants. Not only had to face the difficult terrain and inclement weather, but also the local tribes. By the time they emerged on the other side, some 17 days later, Hannibal's force had been depleted by nearly 50%, including the loss of most of the elephants. However, Hannibal soon made his numbers back by recruiting soldiers from the local population by presenting himself as a liberator. I'm going to pause right there. Crossing the Alps, a lot of people debated, a lot of people, from our Ivy League university said it's impossible for Hannibal to have crossed the Alps that was so high up, so narrow, but there's actually documentation and records carbonating that shows no, he did it. And there's records to back that up. Moving on. Hannibal similarly dispatched the second Roman army under Tiberius by clearly luring his eager enemy onto favorable terrain before completely surrounding them. The victory saw Hannibal's numbers swell as local cities switched allegiance to his cause. In the spring of 217 BC, Hannibal began to move south, blocking the two main routes to Rome where the consular armies stood. Displaying his ingenuity once again, Hannibal took a third route, the Arnold River Valley. The area was once one big marsh and had been designated as impassable by the Romans who left it unguarded. Hannibal's army crossed it in just 4 days, although at the great cost of life, and Hannibal himself lost one of his eyes due to an infection contracted during this cross. They call it conjunctivitis, I believe. Hannibal then marched behind Flaminius, the officer's ranks, effectively cutting the Roman consul off from his route to Rome. Flaminius had no choice but to hastily pursue Hannibal, who now lay in wait by Lake Transmene. Hannibal's forces surprised the Romans with an ambush, one that has gone down in history as the largest ambush in terms of soldiers involved. It was a slaughter of 30,000 Romans. Half either died in battle or drowned in the lake trying to escape. With Servilius' army pinned down by a surprise attack, Hannibal had a clear route to Rome. So, this tactic that Hannibal used he would put his weak army, his second string and his third string in the middle. And from there, he would put his BA team on the sides. And they called this the envelope tactic. And when they came in the middle and attacked those in the middle, the flanks came in and he slaughtered them and he won that battle. So I'm going to stop right there. There's many. Hannibal goes down as one of the greatest statisticians in military history under Alexander the Great. So I want to dedicate this historical tribute to our African military statisticians and strategy tactics in military fighting and strategy for perseverance. Amen and Ashe.
Ashe. That particular, thank you, brother. I mean, it called for more study. You know, that something needs to be done. I'd love to see a movie done on Hannibal. I know they probably come up with a movie, have Tom Cruise on it. So we need to do our own.
Mm-hmm.
We don't need Tom Cruise running around saying that he's Hannibal. I'm the African, you know. Can you just imagine? My mind really goes out there. Before we move on, I see my one of my number ones from LA look like Miss Foxy Brown. I see you there, you know, just in your glory, your fabulous, and your blackness. We see you there. And I see Brother Damani, my good dear brother Melly Latham. I see you out there. Bamadeli, and I'm gonna try and say your last name because I want to try it. It says Agbasegba. I hope I'm close. I hope I'm close. Queen Mother Thurston, you know you have all our love. I mean, we talk about the A team. This is the A team right here. This ain't that B team. We is all A's, you know. So here we go with the full A team right here. Just want to continue to shout out to everybody. So at this particular point in time, let's move on. Excuse me. There we go. Shaboop. We are looking at the litany. Okay, this is, you know, we got to put in some money. You know, we got to help out. I always think back to Booker T. Washington before he built was given the land to build Tuskegee College. The folks around, they didn't have a whole lot. They didn't, you know, it wasn't in a part of town where there was a lot of money. And we talked about them stealing the black land, taking the black land, taking our wealth, taking our generational wealth, depriving not only that generation, but generation moving on down the line. But what did the community do? They understood how important it was to have an institution that would be there, that will continue to educate and develop its community, develop its people. Families came out with buckets of chicken, with eggs, with raw eggs, with whatever they had. They gave, as they say on the continent, from their heart. They gave what they have. Some people gave money. Some people gave time. Some people gave their labor. People did what they could. And it came from the heart. That is who we are. And this is that time in our service where we ask you to give from the heart, to answer that heart. Let the heart speak you. That is the center of your intellect. That is the center of your being. That is where the intellect meets with the spiritual and it comes together. So listen to your heart. And right now I want to call that first family of Wose, the first family of song of Wose, and they're doubling up their duties today, y'all. They're gonna come and bring the litany of sacrifice. Ashe, Brother David and Mama Latrice.
Ashe, well, y'all. Can we have the slide, please?
Yes.
Scroll down.
Oh, yes, the scroll. There we go.
There we go.
All right, thank you. Good morning, Well Saved family. Once again.
Good morning.
Save us, O Holy One, by your name. Vindicate us by your might. Hear my prayer, divine protector. Listen to the words of my mouth. How can we repay the Holy One for the gifts that have been given to us? We will lift up the cup of salvation and call upon the God of our ancestors. We will fulfill our vows to our Creator in the presence of all our people. Gladly we bring our sacrifices to you. We praise your name, O Amun-Ra, for it is good.
And if we, go ahead.
We shall strive to maintain unity in the family, community, nation, and race.
Kuji Chagalia, self-determination. We shall define, name, create, and speak for ourselves.
Ujima, collective work and responsibility. We shall build and maintain our communities together. Our brothers and sisters' problems shall be ours to solve together.
Ujama, cooperative economics. Together we shall build and maintain our own businesses and together profit from them.
Nia, purpose. We shall make our collective vocation the building and developing of our community and the restoration of our people to our traditional greatness.
Kuumba, creativity. We shall do as much as we can in any way we can to leave our community more beautiful and beneficial than we inherited it.
Imani, faith. We will believe with all our hearts in our God, our people, and in the righteousness and victory of our struggle.
So we just want to take a moment to
Sure.
for those of you that are in the need of assistance, in the need of comfort, in the need of peace at this time. We ask that Divine Mother, Father, give you exactly what you're needing. And knowing that we don't always have to say the words of our prayers, but we can just moan in gratitude and moan in our pain and moan in our suffering, and our need is heard. And so we thank you for the opportunity to come together and fellowship this community. We thank you for the hedge of protection that surrounds us all. We thank you for light. We thank you for good health. We thank you for all of the abundance that surrounds us. We thank you for knowing that we are not alone when we are in need. We thank you for traveling mercies. We thank you for grace. We thank you for all of the blessings that you've bestowed upon us. All of these things we pray and we ask that you continue to make it so. Ashe, ashe, ashe.
Ashe. You know, and from time to time, I overlook the power of the prayerful songstress. Boy, Mama Latrice, your prayers touch my heart. I tell you, boy, you know, we got some prayerful folks here. And real quickly, we're going to do a quick update on the building fund. Mama Ngina, give us a quick update on the building fund, please. How we doing?
Here, I'm trying to make sure. Okay, I am unmuted. So, good morning. I don't know. I just kind of disappeared here. My face. There we go. But good morning, everyone. As always, we have the most wonderful Zoom meetings that, you know, just nobody knew that they could be so uplifting, so spiritual. The lighting of the candle, the historical tribute. We are such an awesome people, and we have such a history. And as Baba Kadabazi said, I'm still basking in the glory of last Sunday. Last Sunday's 40th was absolutely fantastic. Dr. Smalls gave us the wisdom. We are on the right track. We are doing what we're supposed to do. That many organizations have not lasted for 40 years. So I am so grateful and so thankful. The Sister Destiny was just fantastic. And they stayed with us for the whole 4 hours that we were there, from 10 until 2. They stayed. That is phenomenal. That says something. So we must be doing something right. So I usually have an update for you as to how much money we have raised last week. And with over 100 people online, I'm sure our numbers went up. And I didn't get a chance to talk with Sister Fania this week, but as of last week, we're like at $5,970 or something like that. So again, this is the time where we want to beautify our building. We want to replace some old windows that, are single pane. That means that we have to turn the heat up really, really high in order to, keep our children warm. And I've been promising you some video of our children, and that is still coming. And it's my fault. Baba Jeff did it for me, and we do have some. So I just want everybody to know that, again, this is our space. We own the building. We've had it since 1989. We've only painted it once. This is where we go for rejuvenation, for spiritual upliftment. This is where our children go to be taught, to be sure that they know who and whose they are. So we want to get some money to beautify our building, and we've done really, really well, but we want to continue that. So again, if your name hasn't been called yet, and normally every Sunday I call out the names, but so next Sunday, I'm sure I'm gonna have a long, long list. So if you haven't made a pledge yet, please do so. It's our building. We want it to be beautiful. We want to feel proud when we walk in there, because rest assured, next year, we're going to be in person. This pandemic is going to end, and we're going to be able to reach out and touch each other and everyone. So I'm just grateful and thankful for everyone that has made a pledge. And if you haven't, he knows your name. Put your name on the book. Put your name on the book. Ashe.
Ashe. Wonderful, wonderful. And, as that old song used to go in the church with my mama, you can't be God-given, no matter how you try. Ashe. So let's continue to give. As my brothers and sisters say on the continent, give from your heart. Now I'm going to ask for that first family a song, if they can come back and bless us with one more a song before we go into our message for the day from Minister Amadi down in LA. So could you bless us with some more music? Sounds of my eye.
See what we can do here. I don't know what thing to share.
Just share the desktop somewhere.
Huh?
You could share your desktop.
That picture?
Yeah. Don't you have the other picture?
Yes.
Here comes the sun, little darling. Here comes the sun, and I say it's alright. It's alright. Here comes the sun, little darling. Here comes the sun, and I say it's alright. Little darling, it's been a long and cold, long winter. Little darling, it feels like years since you've been here. Here comes the sun, little darling. Here comes the sun, and I say it's alright. Yeah, it's alright. Little darling, the smiles are returning to the faces now. Little darling, it seems like years since you've been here. Little darling, oh, it's been a long, cold, and lonely winter. Little darling, it feels like years since you've been here. Here comes the sun, oh yeah, here comes the sun. Aren't you glad to see it? Here comes the sun, and I say it's alright. Oh, it's alright. comes the sun. It's alright. It's alright. Ooh, here comes the sun. Here comes the sun. Oh, it's alright. It's alright. Oh, God, be with you until we meet again.
She.
Beautiful. See. All right. What a beautiful rendition. And speaking of Here Comes the Sun, I think we're about to bring forth our speaker for the day, our the bringer of the message, the utterer of truth, of justice, of that spirit-felt thing that we have in each and every one of us. We have Minister Brother Amadi. She, if you can come forward, please.
Ashe, Ashe. Well, thank you. Thank you so much again for the opportunity to come before you today. What a blessing and an honor and a privilege. Thank you. Thank you, Latrice and David, for that wonderful rendition of the song, Here Comes the Sun. In fact, it was Nina Simone's version of it that inspired the topic or the title of my message today, Here Comes the Sun. And so that's why I asked that, that it be sung. And you guys did a great job, you know, really putting me in the spirit of what I want to share today. So let's just go forward. Here comes the sun means, here comes a new beginning, another chapter, another endeavor, another life, a new chance, something to look forward to, some new way of doing things that emerges and is very promising. Well, this is how I feel right now as we close out this year. Here comes the sun of a new day and a new opportunity for all of us. And despite whatever you had to go through to get to this point, it's going to be all right. It has indeed been a difficult and challenging year. Many of us have lost family members this year. I lost a strong colleague in the ministry, and I lost a close family member. With the onset of the pandemic, we've had to struggle through a unique and singular period of physical separation from our families and community members. Wosei and so many other spiritual communities have had to face the challenge of not only being physically separated from each other, but from having to find creative ways to financially sustain the community in the face of all these new challenges. Individually, many of us have had to deal with our own personal financial challenges due to loss of employment and the restrictions on businesses due to governmental shutdowns. We had to endure another year of having a seeming criminal in the White House. But we know that his sickness is a reflection of the sickness of this society that we live in. But his role, he had a role. He had a role to play. And that role was to expose for all to see the deeply entrenched racism that permeates the dominant society. But thankfully, the people gave him his walking papers this time around by metaphorically telling him, "You're fired." But let's remember that 17 million people did vote for him. It's obvious to many of us
that we cannot depend on the United States government to liberate us or to give us equal treatment. We should even be more convinced of our imperative to take up the task of nation building. We should create our own base of economic and political power through the institutions we build and sustain. The key words here are ownership and control. And there's never been a better time than now to push forward in this effort. The idea and hope of promise is symbolized by the winter solstice. December 21st will be the date of the winter solstice for the Northern Hemisphere. I think it's important that we celebrate it because it is the original reason for the holiday season during this time of year. Of course, next week we'll be doing a ceremony and a ritual to acknowledge the changing of the season marked by the winter solstice. The winter solstice is the moment the North Pole is aimed farthest away from the sun. After December 21st, the length of daylight will increase every day right through the summer solstice in June of next year, which is the first day of summer. The winter solstice carries the promise of new opportunities. The sun that Nina Simone and the Sounds of My Aunt were singing about was the sun rising in spring. But the sun of the winter solstice is the sun that emerges in winter, but carries the promise that spring is coming. Even though we can't see it, it's coming. It represents the coming of the light of a new idea, a new opportunity, and new hope for us collectively and individually. The winter solstice marks a transition. The ancient Kemetic celebrations were done to welcome back the light. They were celebrating the birth of the sun, S-U-N. Symbolically, the winter solstice represents the idea of a glimmer of light shining out from the darkness, bringing with it the hope of a brighter day, like the light at the end of a tunnel. Nature is telling us that this is a season of light, the light of hope, the light of understanding, and the light of deliverance. During this winter solstice and Kwanzaa period, I want to encourage you to tap into this powerful energy for regeneration, renewal, and self-reflection. This is a time of quiet energy where you get the opportunity to look within yourself and focus on what you want and need. Spend some time outdoors with nature. It's a time to set goals and intentions for the coming year, to examine and let go of our past, and to make changes within ourselves. This is a time for personal awakening. Ra'u Nefer Amen, in the last chapter of his book, Medu Neter 4, suggests that a week or two before the winter solstice, we should embark upon a totally healthy diet, preferably a vegetarian diet. He says we should allocate time to meditate on the principles and laws of God, reflect upon the 42 confessions of innocence, and listen to the spirit within to see if you are being judged ma'a keru, true of voice. And so we could ask the question, how am I being judged in the hall of Ma'ati? And of course, this is in preparation for the final judgment. But we're being judged every day, so we can't wait till the last minute. We got to be working on ourselves, continuously refining ourselves if we want to pass that final judgment. And so I believe that Brother Bill has put the the principles of a handout with the principles and virtues of Ma'at in it. And you may have a copy of the 42 Confessions of Innocence, also called the Negative Confessions. So so I'm just going to encourage you to look at these things and review these principles and laws during this week, and reflect on, are you meeting the standard of this? And so he ends the chapter by saying, as the days progress, whichever way the judgment went, that is, what has your inner spirit told you in terms of your vindication, the vindication of your ways of acting in the world? As you ask this question, you will get a sense and a judgment. He says, as the days progress, whichever way the judgment went, you will find your person growing in wisdom and magical power. The cycle is to be repeated every year of your life, as you will learn to see more and more into the secrets of the Holy Spirit that will enable you to serve as one of God's vehicles on earth. I think this is a good time to start formulating plans that you will implement come spring. Because just as sure as the sun will rise tomorrow, so shall your situation get better. I want to assure you of something today. That is that the answer to your problem and to our problem is just an idea away. An idea known in the mind of the Creator, a divine idea, is waiting to be born in you and for African people collectively. Whenever you think of a problem that you're facing, just accept that there is an idea greater than that problem that's waiting to be revealed in your experience. Declare, let there be light. And then courageously walk in the direction of the change that you want to experience. Ask the ancestors, the Neteru, and the Creator, whom our ancestors called Amun-Ra, to help you, to guide you, and to give you an idea that propels you forward. Wait on that idea, and it will come. Then accept it as an accomplished fact and consistently act on it, and you will witness the fulfillment of that divine idea. Nelson Mandela languished in prison for years before emerging to become the president of South Africa. Michael Jordan was cut from his varsity basketball team on his first try. Oprah Winfrey grew up in poverty. Dr. Dre was told that rap music would never sell. Their answers were just an idea away, and so are yours. Some ideas to focus on regarding the situations that we're dealing with are success, prosperity, freedom, liberty, empowerment, unity, and of course, many others. At the end of last year, I felt that something would happen to propel Black people forward in our struggle to liberate ourselves. In fact, I predicted it. And sure enough, we have seen the emergence of a shift in the consciousness of the masses and a realization that something must be done to balance the inequity in this society. Amun, was called the hidden one because he represents the mystery of life. There are always things going on beyond what we can see or even comprehend. We could have never predicted the events of 2020, but we could predict that change was, that the pendulum was beginning to swing in our direction. Because truth, justice, and balance are eternal principles that cannot be denied. And so we could observe to see how that was going to unfold, because we knew that our time would have to come, that we would have to get our reciprocity, because we knew that Ma'at will prevail. We know this. With the George Floyd incident opening the way for a shift in collective consciousness, and having been forced by the pandemic to stop, look, and listen to the quiet voice of nature, we can see the need for humanity to change directions if we want to survive as a species. We must indeed create a new normal, which requires that each of us focus on the work at hand. If ever there was a seize the time moment, it is now. Regarding the conditions of Black people, I want to call us today to an optimistic attitude brought about through practicing the principle of Imani, faith, to believe with all our hearts in our people, our parents, our teachers, and above all, the righteousness and ultimate victory of our struggle. Now, I'm not talking about blind faith. I'm talking about having confidence in knowing that nature is on our side. Our strength is in our African cultural values. 2020 has been a year of adversity, but it has afforded us the opportunity to pause and reflect, to connect over distances, and to assert our resilience and our power to transform our circumstances. Black people asserted their political muscles this year during the election and demanded that a Black woman, Kamala Harris, be on the presidential ticket. Black voters tipped the scales on the presidential election by saving Biden's candidacy in South Carolina and assured his victory in the general election, with our votes coming from Milwaukee, Detroit, Philadelphia, and Atlanta. Speaking of Atlanta, Black people were the main force in turning Georgia blue. This was symbolically a very significant victory because it foreshadows the political empowerment of Black people in the South. That's why it's so significant. That's why, it just kind of shook everything up when that happened. So going forward, I would like to see us operate from a position of strength, understanding that the pendulum is swinging toward us. It is time to leverage our political efforts by holding the politicians accountable for our support. A major factor, we gotta admit it, that has hindered our advancement has been Black assimilationist leadership that have urged the masses to assimilate into a corrupt system instead of creating a system of their own, which is what we have to do. We must demand from our politicians, both locally and nationally, that they support the idea of Black-controlled institutions and centers of economic power. Again, the key words are ownership and control. We cannot afford to go to sleep at the wheel. We must question everything as we move forward. We must question the coronavirus vaccine and make sure that it is safe and helpful before we jump on board with our support. Remembering that the European does not have a good track record in these matters. Reparations are on the table. That was talked about earlier today. We must insist that the national discourse includes a discussion on how the United States will go about closing the wealth and income disparity gaps that were generated by 400 years of enslavement and discrimination. I think we should, and me personally, I think that we should work to help the democratic Senate candidates in Georgia to win, and then hold the Democratic Party accountable to our agenda. Even as we began to imagine a Black political party. People of African descent must reconcile the experience of enslavement, learn the lessons of that experience, and release the last vestige of enslavement, which is mental enslavement. As we move into a new phase of empowerment and self-determination, mental enslavement is the obstacle. As Brother Desmond in his presentation shared, they can't defeat us until we buy into their idea. They can't defeat us, but it's us buying into their ideas. It's us buying into things that are not supporting us. It's us agreeing, giving our agreement, our vote to that which not support us, that is allowed them to maintain the status quo. Raun Nefer Amen, in his book, Ma'at, The 11 Laws of God, tells us how to use our capacity of imagination through the law of Heru, and our intellectual capacity through the law of Sebek. Using the law of Heru, we must visualize our future not from the perspective of our human limitations, but as divine beings with unlimited potential inside of us and infinite possibilities in front of us. This law states, the law of Heru, that it is not what you imagine, but who is imagining. Are you a human being or a divine being? Similarly, the law of Sebek tells us that we must think not as human beings, but as divine beings. It states, it is not what you are thinking, but who is thinking. Are you a human being or a divine being? So do not focus on how you will obtain success, but rather focus on what you want and why you want it. The how will unfold as you begin moving in the direction of what you intend to create. Because when you start focusing on how am I going to do it, how am I going to do it, you automatically start creating resistance. But knowing what you want and why you want it, there is no resistance in that. And you will continuously make progress in attaining it. The opportunity is in front of us. Here comes the sun. I believe that we're entering into a new phase in our liberation efforts, and I'm ready for it. As the Isley brothers said, take me to the next phase. Take me, take my soul to the next phase. And the next phase is for a group of us to relinquish mental enslavement. It is time for Africans in America to build a consciousness of nationhood and a network of mutual support. We must emancipate ourselves from mental slavery because none but ourselves can free our minds. And we do that by rejecting the ways of those who would oppress us and embracing the ways of our ancestors. We must focus on the mission of advancing the interests of African people. That must be our focus, unapologetically. Many of us Black people, however, have gotten comfortable with a condition of inequality within this society. We build vicious cycles of sustenance where we are satisfied with just getting by and settling for less. I call that being in survival mode. Some of us are paralyzed mentally and emotionally. This is part of mental enslavement that we must break free from. 2020 has been the year for clear vision. It foreshadows the emergence of a new paradigm. In 2020, the divine spirit shook up the world to get our attention so that we would stop, look, and listen to what nature is quietly trying to tell us. It is telling us that there is only one way forward, and that is through the path of Ma'at. Truth, justice, righteousness, propriety, harmony, order, balance, and reciprocity. And Ma'at tells us that we have a right to defend ourselves. A paradigm shift occurs when there's a major change in the way things are viewed and when a new cultural perspective emerges based on a new way of doing things. And so let us look forward. Let us look toward an African cultural revolution. This is the new paradigm for us as Black people. Black people individually and collectively must adopt a new attitude and a strong stand regarding the change we want. We must demand more with our words and command more with our actions. We must outgrow the smallness of our current situation and break away from the normal. We must ask ourselves, do I have the courage to get better? Am I used to my pain and paralysis? Getting better requires responsibility. Many people are afraid to get better. The change must be real, not a play change. The Creator wants real change. I see our task at Wosay as setting an example for our people and the world. I see that as a step forward in carrying out the charge that Professor James Smalls gave to Wosay last week when he said that we must get the message out to the masses of Black people, the message of the sacred African way. Those of us who call ourselves conscious Africans must take the lead in this effort to reestablish African people as a powerful and self-determining force in the world. It only takes a small percentage of a population, and I've said this before, I say it all the time. It only takes a small percentage of a population to change the consciousness of the group. And we can do this for our people. Social scientists say that it takes 2% of a population of people who are fully committed to transform the minds of that population. Fully committed. My recommendation is that we focus on developing our gifts, move out of survival mode, and begin producing results that cannot be argued with. I call that nation building through self-development. Now you at Wosay are already doing that with your school, Iliomide. But I'm challenging you to expand your impact and go deeper still in the work that you are doing. We must identify our Black excellence, develop it so that we can create a Black advantage, and then monetize it so that we can fund our movement of liberation. It is time for us to come out of survival mode and find ways to profit from our talents, gifts, and skills. Let's purpose in our hearts that we are ready to strive for excellence and step into empowered living. If you can agree with that, join with me and say Ashe. Ashe. Yes, Ashe. You can strive for excellence. Yes.
Ashe.
And step
Ashe.
into empowered living. Ashe.
Ashe.
Yes.
Ashe.
So we must push forward with the intention to stay in principle and take advantage of the opportunities that will be coming. We got to know that this stuff, the pendulum is coming toward us. Are we ready? Are we ready to step into these opportunities? Here comes the sign of a new year, a new opportunity, and a new hope, which is just the start. We must turn hope into acceptance, acceptance into belief, and belief into knowing. If we test the principle, it will prove itself. We can turn our situations around. We can find the answers that we've been seeking, but we must be willing to pay the price for what we have been seeking, what we are seeking. We must become in consciousness the very thing that we want to experience. So I just want to say, let's get ready and let's do it. It has indeed been a long, cold, and lonely winter of discontent for our people. But here comes the sun of our highest aspirations. Here comes the sun. And everything is going to be all right. Ashe.
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 Yes, it's going to be all right. We're going to do this thing.
Wonderful message. Wonderful message.
That was beautiful.
Ashe.
Ashe,
Indeed, indeed. Ashe.
Minister Amadi has given us so much to think about. He has told us, you know, here comes the sun. It's coming, you know, and that statement at the end about being a long, cold winter, and here comes that sun. I am so excited about that. You know, he gave us information about asking us, are you being judged, Ma'akaru, as we go through this time? Like what we've been doing this year at this time frame, you know, it is the judgment time. Or like, what have we been saying? Are we speaking in our truth? Are we moving forward in our lives to be truthful and doing things that are truthful? You know, if not, you know, towards the end of the year, it does come out. It does. He talked about the mystery of life being represented by Amun, you know, those things that are mysteries to us. They're still there, and they do bring themselves out. And he was talking about, you know, how Ma'at will prevail, you know, in all and everything. You know, we know that at the end, it's gonna be Ma'at or die. Like, that's the basis of it all, you know. Ma'at, even though we might think at different points in times, oh, what's going on with my life? This is so bad. This is so bad. We just need to understand that in the end, Ma'at will actually prevail. And so that gives us our faith, and that gives us our movement forward, and that gives us our push to keep going, you know, to be in, you know, one in that number that pushes forward, pushes those scales of the balance to move towards Ma'at. So right now is the time for the invitation. And I just like to share with you, like, growing up, I was in a group, and Miss Akila Hatchett of Kinks, she would always say, join an organization. She would say, join organizations that are working for the upliftment of African peoples. She said, you don't have to join our organization, but all African people should be in or join an organization that is working for the upliftment and the advancement of African people. Wilsey's work, if you guys were here last week, it's been 40 years in the community, 40 years of work uplifting African people from the jump, from the beginning. Wilsey's work has been just what Minister Amadi was talking about today, is relinquishing mental enslavement, you know, over our people. That has been a work that has been started from the beginning. And that is what we do, and that's what we continue to do. That's what we grind when we're doing, like, this is what we need to do, like, enlighten the minds of our people, breaking those bonds of mental enslavement over our people so that we can be free. That is our charge, and that is what we move forward in doing. And if you're feeling that something today was said that is touching your heart, something today that was done that's touching your spirit, something today that was said that you say, you know what, I'm ready to relinquish this mental enslavement. I'm ready to move forward. I'm ready to open up my mind. I'm ready to leave that slavery in the past. I'm ready to break those chains. Well, I invite you at this time to become one with Wose. I invite you at this time to join Wose in the number, you know, of what we're trying to do. And don't just join in to be like, hey, I'm part of Wose. Join in and let's do this work. You know, join in and take a part, join in and learn, join in and study, join in and pick up your all of your gifts and talents within you and push forward with us. We are moving forward. We are gaining ground. We are, you know, brother was talking about them battles today. I was like, yes, I don't care if I'm in the number of A, B, C, or D. I just know I got to be in the number. You know, so I just want to invite you to open up your mic, speak up, say, hey, I would like to be a part of this group. You can put it in the chat. Somebody will get to you, and make sure that you have the information that you need in order to join our organization, to join this movement, this African people's movement. This is an African people's movement, and our charge in our movement is to we are building a people and we are creating community, but more so than that, we are helping African people to relinquish that mental enslavement. And that is what we've been doing from the jump. And that's what we would continue to do in any way, shape, or form that we can do it in. And so I invite each and every one of you, if you are not a member of Wose, to please speak up and become a member of Wose. Give thanks, Ashe, Ashe, Ashe.
Okay. Uh-oh.
Okay, so if there is none who desire to be a member at this time, I will tell you, hey, if I wasn't a member before, I would have become a member today. So and you can do this at any time, you know. Put it in the chat while we're still in here, or raise your hand, or unmute yourself and say I would like to become a member. So now at this moment, though, I would like to pass it on to our next person who will be speaking.
So are we doing Lift Every Voice and Sing now, or is Minister Imhotep speaking?
Lift every voice.
You lift every voice.
All right, here we go.
You don't eat fried chicken, do you?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I got some.
Okay.
Every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening stars. Let it resound out as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of a new day begun. Let us march on till victory is won. Amen. Amen.
Sisters and brothers, before we close, I just received a text from the Reverend Dr. Larry Ellis, and I saw in the group an iPhone that was unidentified. Reverend Ellis, are you with us now? Okay. Reverend Ellis was trying to get on. He was there at the very first Wose, Kadabasi's shaking his head. He remembers him. He was at the very first worship service of Wose community, and he was in seminary with Minister Calhoun. But since he's not, since I can't hear him, and I gave him the information, perhaps he'll come on, and he can come on after Sister Rona gives us the excuse me, Rana, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Sister Rana. Give the announcements. Let's raise our hands. And now unto them who is able to lift us up faultlessly before the throne on high. May they empower us to be a people with one aim, one vision,
one vision,
one faith,
one faith,
one destiny,
one destiny,
one love,
one love,
one heart,
one heart,
one God.
one God.
Let us call upon the name of that one God as our ancestors and elders have done for countless generations, for time immemorial. Let us all say together, Amen.
Amen.
And you know that you are the most beautiful people on
Ashe,
this earth.
Ashe.
Earth. Ashe.